Jim, what about you? What is your advice on what firms, especially small and mid-sized firms, should be thinking about in order to future-proof their businesses? You've talked a little bit about some of the things you're doing at a very large firm, but what else? What other advice do you have for the firms on this webinar?
So when I joined Wealth Enhancement Group in 2012, when we were $2.5 billion, there was very little that was different between a $250 million firm and a $2.5 billion firm. Today, technology, like expanded services, increased demands from clients means that a large firm is delivering to a very different sort of service to a client than a smaller firm. When you've seen that happen in the past, think about banks in the 80s, accounting firms in the 90s, insurance brokerage firms more recently in the aughts, right? They're about 10 years ahead of us in the consolidation. What you tend to see is that there are a few big winners, right? So in the banking industry, the top 5 banks capture 80% of all new deposits. They're really saying the top 100 RIAs are capturing 80% of all new leads. What do you think that looks like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Look what happened to the wirehouses. There's sort of 3, you've got Morgan Stanley and UBS and maybe Merrill Lynch, right? 10 years ago, there was probably a dozen other firms, 15 years ago, that you could add to that list that were sort of competitive. Even the regional wirehouses have consolidated. And so when there's an advantage to scale, consolidation basically sort of creates a few winners. And I think that's where we're headed. The question is, well, why? Well, the answer is that if I can deliver a value of unit cheaper to my client than you can, right? Not a worse value of unit, the same value of unit, if I can do it cheaper, that means that I can do 3 things without excess. I can invest it back in marketing, which means I can talk to your clients, right? I can talk to clients that maybe don't have an advisor yet. I can put in a profitability. I can just make my business worth more. Or I can sort of just give it back to the client in the form of additional services. Maybe I do their cash return for free. Maybe I give free trust services. And I can deliver what we call overwhelming value to that client. If you think about a $250 million firm versus a $250 billion firm in the future, it's going to be very difficult for that $250 million firm to compete. And so it doesn't mean that they won't exist. It just means that growth is going to get harder and harder for the smaller firms. And I think every firm out there needs to make a decision, right? Am I comfortable with this business as it is? Am I comfortable sort of with this client? Do I get enough fulfillment on this? Because if you do, you'll be fine. Your clients love you. They're not going anywhere. You'll be fine. But if your ambition is to go from 250 million to $1 billion to $3 billion to $5 billion, right? I think that's getting increasingly more difficult. And so I think you need to really sort of focus on whether it's something you want to do or not. Is it actually realistic? I mean, the environment's totally different than when we started. Interest rates are 3 times as high. The cost for these businesses has tripled, right? So even if someone who was $10 billion today wanted to get to 30 billion, it would take them 3 times or 4 times as long as it took us because you just run out of credit headspace, right? Yeah. And so it's just
what a great point.
It's just a totally different environment than it was a decade ago.